God of the universe, maker of the stars. Who am I that you would know my name?
Welcome to episode 77. What an incredible number of Life on Purpose. Myself, Mike Clayton, and Alex Stiles. Alex, how you doing tonight?
Doing well. Yourself, Mike?
I'm tired. I'm
Yeah?
I'm a bit on the tired side. I didn't have to work a 13-hour day like you did the other day, but for me, went over to Chattanooga, South Chattanooga, and did a conference for a full day with Hanok Young. We were actually at the building for like 9 or 10 hours. So it was a great time. A lot of interesting things happen, but going over there, heading back and everything. I do want to make a kind of a generic statement before we go online, is for those young adults, youth that sent me texts this weekend and said, you were at Revive or were not at Revive, and said, we really miss you and the teachings and everything. Thank you so much for that. It meant more than I can ever explain to you. The reasons I was not there, I'm not going to get into that on a public forum, but I missed you guys. I really did. So that's the way it is. Yeah, that's the way it is.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Alex, you got a subject there to discuss, and let me kind of set it up a little bit. There are actually three, now that I think about it, three of the most important decisions that a person will make in their life.
All right.
One of those has eternal consequences. The other two have temporal, natural consequences. The most important decision a person will ever make in their life is what to do with their creator, with the message of the creator, with redemption, with who I believe to be the Messiah, Yeshua. I mean, there's nothing out there that compares to that. Number two is a spouse.
Absolutely.
And we've talked about that quite a bit through the last few programs. But then there's number three. Go for it.
So when we come to this third one, this introduction to the third one starts with, my dad told me a lie. Now, don't get everybody get too angry. All right. It was a very nice lie. It was a very nice lie. But he told me I could be anything I wanted to be when I grew up. But there's a problem with that. And that is, Mike, I cannot sing. I've tried. You didn't have to agree so fast.
I just trying to,
right,
make you feel good about it.
Right. I appreciate you. You may have heard me in the choir.
Well, not the choir, but yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have a choir, folks. We
don't, not quite, right. The congregation standing up and singing there. But the other part of it comes with, I'm 5'10" with my boots on, and I'm 165 pounds if I don't take my jacket off. So I'm never going to be an NFL linebacker. So, where am I going with this? This idea of us stepping up there, no, what I'm saying is I then find a problem in raising my own children, because I understand what my dad was trying to do. You want to be positive.
Yeah.
And encouraging your children, go out there and chase your dreams and do it. And then I look and I realize, as I come to try to figure out how to answer this own a situation in raising my own children, of tell them they can be absolutely anything when I know they actually can't. What's the balance there, and what does that look like?
Well, I got one of the same, I got the same problem as you do as far as music goes. I was the star drummer in The Little Drummer Boy in a play in church. That was my first and last. Okay, so that career was pretty short-ended. Then people started telling me I needed to play basketball, because at 15 I was like 6'2", The only problem is that I can't walk and dribble at the same time.
I hear that's important in the sport of
it
basketball.
is. It is.
Yeah.
So the question of you can do anything is, it's a bit on the misleading side, but I understand what people are trying to do there. The question, I think, should be more in line with, what am I created to do?
Ooh.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we should be starting this thing, is what am I created to do? For myself, I didn't have anyone talking to me about this when I was 15, 17, 18 years old. I had no clue of anything regarding that. I mean, I knew there was a God, but I had never been told that he really was involved in my life, to the point that maybe he had created me for a specific reason. So then how do you find what you're supposed to do in that?
Absolutely. I think that then leads to some serious problems if you don't pursue this under a full understanding, under the understanding that maybe there's someone up there, an all-powerful creator God who loves you, who might have a plan for you, up to and including your career.
Like a plan for good and not for evil?
Right,
wow.
right. Somebody could make a podcast around that verse.
And a verse, yeah.
There's a verse, their entire verse dedicated to that. Yeah. So what are you left with then? Well, then you're just left with very shallow, very terrible advice. Sometimes do what you love. I'm like, well, okay. Or you just get people who I think I've frozen up. Hold on 2 seconds, folks. There we go. Okay, we're back.
People who?
We're left with people who give you, mediocre advice, right? Of just follow what you want to do or do what you love. I'm like, there can be a problem with that. The typical starving artist comes to mind, right? The idea that you want to be a painter. Okay, fantastic. I'm not picking on painters, understand? You want to be and I'm talking creative artwork painter. But the typical, you have egg crates for everything. You don't actually own furniture, much less anything else in your life. And you're like starving paycheck to paycheck. Am I necessarily giving good advice as a parent if I'm telling them you go right on living off of ramen every single month while you pursue that dream? Maybe there's a happy ground that needs to be had in there of separating the idea of your loves, which can be your hobbies, versus what you created and have skill at, which could put bread on your table.
Well, for me, in the early, my I guess late teenage years, you say, pursue what you love, which I really loved, eating Crystal hamburgers and Krispy Kreme donuts. It didn't take me long to figure out you can't make a living at that. Okay, even I was that smart. So what I ended up doing is, instead of seeking God and his counsel, seeking godly counsel, which I really didn't have anybody that was taught how about that. Okay. This is not when we go back to the 60s and the 70s, that people weren't talking this way. All right. Probably because they didn't have computers, but, so I basically looked at a friend of mine, and I knew I wasn't going to go to college because nobody would accept me. When you graduate 593 out of 619, that's a closed door. So a friend of mine was going into the Army. Hey, yeah, cool. He was going into air traffic control. That sounds good. Knew nothing about it. But all of a sudden, it became my dream. So I go and, I will go to the recruiter, pass the test. My mother is like, I can't believe you passed a test. That's the first one in your life since elementary school. I go in the Army. I'm good at this. I end up with the FAA, and hey, I'm pursuing my dream. My dream. No, it wasn't my dream. I was pursuing someone else's dream. Okay. And
Mhm.
it may be that you're good at what you're pursuing, but if it's not your dream and it's not his dream, you're going to find that in the end, you're not going to make it. And so this past Saturday, I actually celebrated an anniversary of 43 years ago being one of 11,400 people that was fired by President Reagan because we went out on a strike. And that ended my air traffic control career. So what do I do now? Well, we just bought a house. A friend of mine's in real estate. I guess that's my dream. So I
Mm.
pursued it, passed the test. And then the economy in Alaska just fell apart. Started selling cars. No, that's not it. Owned a business, couple of businesses. It wasn't until October or after 1986, I started figuring out that what I'd been called to do was ministry.
Hmm.
So that's what I started pursuing. And, this in October will be 31 years of that full time.
Hmm.
But I want to go back to something, Alex. When you start talking to people about what they should be doing in life, the first thing that they want to figure out is how much money is it going to make?
Yeah, and I feel that at the entry level, it's a it's a fair question at the
Yeah.
basic level of, are you going to starve trying to do it?
Mhm.
Okay, so it's a fair question to ask how much money, although perhaps anything beyond it will feed you might not necessarily be a barrier. If it feeds you, or if it feeds you plus 100,000 a year, maybe your decision shouldn't be based strictly off of money.
Mhm.
But we do have to admit it's a fair question. And so what were your thoughts? I don't remember, and I don't know where you were at, but what were your thoughts when you were like, will ministry pay? Am I going to starve in ministry? Where were you at career wise there?
Okay, so me and Kathy, two children at the time. This is BD before Daniel. We're in Tucson, Arizona. I was ordained in a church there, and my grandmother died in 1992. So when I went back to do the funeral, I felt like I heard the Spirit say, or I looked out at this river, the Sopshapi River, and I thought to myself, "Wow, this would be a great place to raise my family." And
Hmm.
what was that? So I went back and told Kathy, well, we ended up selling our business, having enough money to move across country to the place, by the way, that just got hit by the hurricane.
Oh.
It literally went right up into that slot there in the Big Bend. But you know, in the 1980s, my business, I was making $35 an hour.
Mm.
Okay,
That's
that's a lot of
good. That's
money.
good money in the 80s.
A
That's
lot of
good
money,
money.
or a lot of
Mhm.
money. Yeah,
A
in
lot of
the
money.
80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have to work much. I mean, I could work a few hours a day and then devote my other time to, other things regarding preparing for ministry. We went from there to a small church in North Florida where they were paying me 100 and a quarter a week. And my
Mm.
rent was $375 a month.
Ooh.
Okay, now I know you're a nurse and you have a lot of education, but I mean, that doesn't quite compute, does it?
That math's a little rough right there.
We never missed a meal.
Really.
We never missed a house payment, a car
Mm.
payment, anything. We never missed an electric bill, nothing. Because the
Mm.
Father, we would I would be I would go somewhere and talk to somebody and they'd hand me $50.
Mm.
See, in choosing a career, in choosing what you're going to do in life, if you pursue money, you'll never have enough.
Absolutely. Um, as many of y'all know who followed any length of time, I'm a nurse, right? I pursued for a while the idea of being a travel nurse,
Mhm.
right? Because they make big money, man. They get rich. Okay, they make good money.
Mm-hmm.
Your expenses go through the roof too.
Mm-hmm.
In my pursuit of money, I took out $120,000 worth of loans in 4 days.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah. Because I go there because like I'm going to pursue money. Mary and I talk about this. We think we're making a decent decision, but understand the entire underlying foundation of this decision is money.
Mm-hmm.
So what do? I go buy a camper, sign a loan on the camper so that I can travel, have a place to stay as I travel across country. I try to drive it home with our old faithful truck and blow the motor on the truck
I
as
remember
it
that.
tries. Yeah, you remember that as it trying to pull that camper home. The motor that I'd already rebuilt myself some 60,000 miles earlier, which had done great until I tried to load it down with
Mm-hmm.
a camper. So what I do? Well, I immediately go in there. What do you got to have? You got to have a truck to pull that camper so I can make that money. I buy a nice big truck. And while I'm there and I'm like, this has been our goal and man, I've been trying to put Mary in a dependable vehicle. And see, I'm going to be across the state. I'm going to be
Mm-hmm.
8 hours away at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's a basic thing that you've been there when you've had Kathy at some point in a piece of a car, possibly that you wouldn't have trusted her across the state with. At some point, everybody's done something and had that car.
A 70s Rabbit diesel baby blue.
Mm. Mm-hmm. The one where you told her, don't drive it out of town because it might not get you back.
Shouldn't really drive it out of the driveway, but yeah.
Right. So now what did I do? Well, I'm going to be making money. So I'm going to get my wife a nice, dependable car because she needs something dependable because I will be physically unable to pick her up because I'll be 8 hours away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in this pursuit of money, I take out $120,000 worth of loans in 4 days.
Mm.
If I'd ever slowed down and not been blinded by an absolute look of greed, because to be real, it was greed at that point. I was going to make money, man. I wasn't
Mhm.
looking at, God bless me, let me pay my bills.
Yeah.
Let me have a little on the side that I can take my wife out to eat for a date every now and then. No, I was looking for be rich. I was going to pay my house off in 5 years. I was going to do it.
Mm.
Yeah, Mike, I look back, I'm 34 now, 34 this year. And my 30s are currently being spent not spent exclusively, but the goal in one of the goals of my 30s is to fix the financial mistakes of my 20s
Mm.
and late 20s, even right up till right at 30 there.
Been there, by the way. Yeah.
Right, right. And every single one of those horrendous financial debt mistakes were made when I was pursuing the dollar signs,
Mm-hmm.
when I was pursuing money. Things started straightening out a lot when we had an episode where Mary was quite sick.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up with she's been off and on quite sick through her life, but we had a one episode where we had a doctor that was afraid she had cancer.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
praise God, she does not. But at that time, with me out there living the other side of the state away pursuing money, you talk about putting a reality check.
Oh, yeah.
Right. What am I doing out here 8 hours a day, gone 10 days at a time, looking for all this money when I'm being handed the news that I may be losing my wife?
Mm-hmm.
Puts that in perspective. When things started turning around financially for us was really probably from that moment. Came back and I started making every single decision financially based on what do I need to do to be able to spend time with my family. If I put my family, the goal of
Yeah.
my family in the center of the finance goals, right? How do I spend time with them? How do I take care of them? How do I, that became the center of it, not how do I chase those dollars? And there's a lesson deeply in there. I should have looked up which verse it is of Solomon's in Proverbs, where he says, let me be neither rich nor poor, right?
Yeah.
Unless I become rich, and I'm mangling the quotation here, but unless I become rich and forget my God who meets my needs, or unless I become poor and I steal to feed my family.
Yeah.
You could make every financial decision in your life based off of those verses, and it would not steer you wrong there.
Pretty much. Yeah, no doubt. I agree with that. In fact, I love one of the teachings of Miles Monroe, who says, never pursue money, pursue your purpose, and money will find you.
Mm.
Okay. There's no shortage of money out there in the world. Just look at the government. Okay. There's
Don't
no
worry.
shortage. They're able to figure it out.
If
print
they
it
run
or
out,
whatever.
if they run out, they just
Yeah.
print some more.
Yeah. And don't,
Tell them
Jared,
to print a bag
don't,
off for me.
yeah, Jared, don't send me the list of what's happening there. Okay. I know it. But it's, if you pursue why you were put here, then the funds for that will come in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some steps that a person needs to make along the way. And I want to go into some practical things here. And I'd like for people to hear me out. Don't make a decision halfway in or get offended, after my first or second statement and turn me off forever. Okay. Hear me out. If you disagree, that's fine. But just hear me out on this. When I grew up, it was expected that you were going to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if you did not go to college, really the only thing you were going to do is go in the military like I did. And you're probably never going to get anywhere, quote unquote, in life because you don't have a college degree.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that changed as I have a relative that got a college degree and then was working at Pizza Hut.
Yes.
You
Tragically.
know,
Yes.
loaded with debt that you're expecting the government to forgive the debt. No, the government doesn't forgive debt. You just stole it from somebody that paid their taxes so that you could go to college.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people say, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. So, I'm just going to spend 4 years of college and I'm going to go there and kind of, peel the layers back of my life and find myself. Well, what if you figure out you're an onion?
Right.
Yeah.
The layers keep coming and you become a professional student.
Well, yeah, because an onion, if in case you don't get the joke, guys, when you peel all the layers off of an onion, all you have left is air. There's nothing there. Okay. So a person needs to figure out, is this really what I'm supposed to do? Now, I could go into a lot of things about the debauchery and the indoctrinations and all of those things that are going on in college campuses these days. That's a whole program in itself. But there was a guy years ago that was asked to go. He was a businessman, business owner. He was asked to speak at a college campus on graduation. He stood up at the podium and he said this: I would like to congratulate you for your last day of success in life. And stunned silence. They all sat there and he said, you have succeeded in getting a diploma, but that's probably the last thing you will ever really succeed at in life. Because see, if you tell me the career you're going into, I can now plot your income, your raises, your vacation time, your retirement, the type of car that you're going to drive, the size house that you're going to be able to live in, the number of children you're going to be able to afford, because you have now become a servant. I use that word instead of another word. You've now become a servant to the system.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to take Shabbat off, you have to ask permission.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to take, 8 days off in the fall, you have to ask permission. Your children come down sick for 3 days in a row and you're about to get fired because of it. I think that people might understand now what the other word for servant actually should be. Give me your thoughts so far.
Oh, multitude of thoughts that go there. One, absolutely understanding that you become part when you step into your career, you are part of a machine for sure. I've worked in a hospital. I've worked for a number of different hospitals. We joke that we should have a motto up in our unit, a big black flag, blocky white letters that says, "Work harder, nobody cares."
Mhm.
Someone once asked me the other day how things were going on our unit, and they were pretty terrible. We don't have enough nurses. Not terribly understaffed. We're doing what we can. And then, like, this isn't this one hospital for anybody. Oh, where does this guy work? This is across the U.S. I've worked 6 or 7 different hospitals, so what I'm saying applies to all. Um, and someone asked, what's upper management doing? And I said, don't worry. Upper management says the beatings will continue until morale improves.
That's true. I work for the government. I know that.
Right, right. So, yeah, so absolutely, and that's just one side of becoming these. The two thoughts you go there. One, yes, you're part of a machine. Then, all right, the machine does not care about you.
Mhm.
All right. Now, am I necessarily, however, what I understand is I understand my place within that machine, that I'm not very important, but as long as I work within the machine, money lands in my account every other Friday and my children get to eat food.
Mhm.
This is good. I am in no way in this conversation about discussing all of these as machines, saying you should, become a hippie and go, no offense to hippies, go live under a bridge. I did ask my wife that one morning when I was very tired and had to get up for like my 3rd day in a row. I did offer her a very nice box underneath a very nice bridge somewhere, offered to put newspaper down underneath it and everything, but she
Wow.
declined. Therefore, I got up went to work into the machine and I earned the money to pay the mortgage, and we
Yeah.
continue to live in the house and not the box.
Yeah.
The second thought that we go there is when we discuss this idea where people got lied to so much that if you'll go to college and get this degree, you will be successful and make lots of money. And the other thing that came around when then suddenly everybody wanted free college.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason behind that is because they had become to the point that that's entitlement, right? That is become to the point being told so often you should have college that the indoctrination became to the point saying, oh, your unalienable right to have college.
Yeah.
I would offer one free course, and that would be economics. Maybe we can offer a free economy, basic money management course, and then go from there.
The only problem is it would be taught by people that don't know what they're doing.
This is also a problem. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's nothing in this life you're entitled to, by the way, except basically the one thing you're entitled to is taking responsibility for yourself. You're not entitled to take dollars out of my wallet to do something stupid on your own.
Yeah,
and
I've
just
got
think
my
I'm going to
own.
be really thrilled about it.
Yeah, I have my own stupid things I need to be doing with that money. Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah. I would like to have something, and I had to give that money to whoever there. So, did you have
My other thought there really was that it became terrible just how much careers that didn't require a degree got put down and demeaned. They are the careers that keep our entire, not even nation, but our entire infrastructure running, like construction, carpenter work. You're not going to call a college graduate when your sink starts spewing water everywhere, when your roof starts leaking. Like, these are solid, dependable. I think my grandfather used to call it as an honest way to earn a living. Something he would say about the blue collar work.
Yeah. A man or woman that can produce something, fix something, will never be out of work.
This is true.
Okay. You become recession proof when you know how to do something. All right. Take, for instance, when the sink, explodes in the kitchen and you're the person that knows how to fix it. You set your own
Yes.
wage. All right.
Yes.
Guy came out the other day to fix my air conditioner. I did not negotiate with him and say, well, I think that the interesting thing is, this is a funny story. We were talking. I actually had met him at a church that I was speaking of here in Franklin, and he ended up looking at me and saying, by the way, Mike, I'm going to send you a number later on in a text. And whatever that number comes to, I want you to give it to one of the projects you do in Israel.
Hmm.
Okay. So that's pretty cool. But I didn't negotiate with him over that. When you have something that is broken, you
Mhm.
don't negotiate, because that person probably went to some kind of tech school or whatever, and got a skill.
Right. Mhm.
Okay. Now you are skilled at a level that took a college degree.
Yes. I chose to go into the shortest degree. I went in for a 2-year associate's degree because it seemed rather strange to me to spend, which takes 3. You don't get a 2-year degree in 2 years, you get it in
Mhm.
3, and you don't
Yeah.
get a 4 in 4. It takes you roughly 5 or 6. Okay. So I thought it just made more sense to me that I could go and do the same job with a 3-year degree as I could with a 6-year degree. And that's what I chose to do.
Mhm.
And from there, I got to work and figured out everything that they don't teach you in school. And now my job is receiving these bachelor's and master's degree nurses who have 6 and 8 years more schooling than I do. But I'm the guy with 12 years in the field.
Mhm.
It matters, and I'm the one teaching and answering these questions.
Mhm.
I will try not to jump up too much on my soapbox of the ridiculousness of them trying to demand that nurses get 4-year and 8-year degrees, and it's quite ridiculous. We don't need nearly that much, but I'm about to jump on a soapbox of a separate direction. Um, yes, the sheer skills that I have used far more in my life have been those basic ones I learned in construction, and that I have saved my family thousands of dollars
Mhm.
in swapping out my own sink when the wife wants
Mhm.
a new sink,
Mhm.
in mechanic work. Done way more of
Rebuilding
that
your
than I
own
want.
engine.
Yeah, exactly. I in a friend's garage in Fayetteville, with YouTube and calls to my dad, and my own tools, I pulled the entire motor apart down to the crankshaft and put it back together.
Okay.
That was the farthest apart I'd ever had the motor. I'd say it was pretty successful. I got another 60,000 miles out of it
Well,
before I ever had any further
it's
trouble.
not bad.
And
Not
I
bad.
didn't think it was on a motor that had already fallen apart a couple of
Mhm.
times. It was horrifying. If you pull it apart and all of the parts are split right down the middle of old parts and new parts, and you just took it apart yourself, it's kind of concerning.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was horrifying. Take the motor apart and find that.
So let me go to the next level here of my statement of, please don't make a rash decision on one thing that I'm going to say, but hear me out to the end. I believe that anyone that is looking toward career or career change, even no matter what their age, should be not looking for a job, but an ownership, a
Mm.
business.
Mm-hmm.
A business, because it was like the guy that was watching his boss drive up in the Maserati and said, "Man, that's a beautiful car." He says, "Yeah, and if you keep working like you did last year, I'm going to have a new one next year." Um, it's not about the Maserati, but
Right.
when you own your own business, the turn of the century at 1900s, not the last one, but 1900s, about 90% of Americans owned their own businesses.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It has gone the exact opposite way.
Yes.
And
And we've
so,
suffered for quality
oh
there.
yeah, yeah. Because
Giant. Yeah.
when you are the business owner, what you put into it is what you get out of it.
Yes.
I find people are working in retail, they don't care. I mean, I looked at somebody one time. One of my pet peeves is going into a store and I hand them my money. I know this is old fashioned. Now we go through the self check so that we can't talk to anybody. But I hand them my money and I say thank you, and they look at me and say no problem. I looked at a guy one time and I said, wait a minute. I handed you my money. You said no problem. I said, who pays your check? He said, my boss. I said, no. He's like, what? I said, no, your boss doesn't pay your check. I pay for your check. And he looked at me and said, no problem. It was just craziness. So maybe you need to go into whatever it is, and you're like, well, okay, I'm probably not going to own the hospital.
No.
Well, you could. I mean, that's not out of the question. You could own, but if someone will walk into a job and they have based that job, that career, on the gifts that they have been given, then you can walk into that arena to where someone else is basically controlling aspects of your life from your time and your income. That silly thing. You can walk into there and say, okay, I got a couple of questions for myself. Number one, who can I affect in this business?
Right.
Number two, what can I do to enhance this business? Number three, how long would it take me to own it? All right. So first of all, who can I affect? Who can I raise up? Who can I help to raise up? Because that will get the attention of the boss. Okay. Which means you're going to jump over a lot of people. But in any job you are, there's an old adage, necessity is the mother of invention. Okay. I meant to do this today, and the time got away from me. I was going to research, and maybe somebody can do this on their own. I was going to research the Phillips screwdriver. Now, when I grew up, Alex, we had a straight blade.
Yep.
Okay. Which means you were going to strip out about half of the screws you really tried to put in. You're going to have to drill a hole, and then you were going to have to try to get that in there, and without doing bodily injury to yourself and needing a nurse. So along comes the Phillips head screwdriver. Do you know that I hardly ever use a straight blade now? You froze up a little bit.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we're back. I don't use a straight blade screwdriver hardly at all.
No, those
I
are
use
for getting
a
paint
Phillips
cans
head.
open.
Yeah. Exactly. I use a Phillips head, and then somebody comes along and says, how about a Torx bit?
Right. I was doing construction when those came out, and it was revolutionary.
Oh,
man,
yeah.
to go
I
from
put a deck
Phillips
in
to a Torx. It was amazing.
I put a deck
Absolutely
in.
Amazing.
How many Phillips head screws would you end up stripping out? Quite a few, but a Torx bit's going in there and coming back out. So that's a necessity. So whoever Phillips was, or whoever did this, became a multimillionaire because he saw a need. So maybe you need to go into a career, a line of work, of whatever you need to do, because the Father is taking you to that place so that you can be shown a need that is there that would make that career better for other people, therefore giving you a way to go from that career working for someone else to working for yourself. Because as young people have heard me say through the years, if we, because of our beliefs, because of our lifestyle, because we believe in this book called Scripture, it was given, if we are in relationship with the one that created the universe, then we should be the most creative people on the planet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's an amazing Anybody want to do a little bit of research on this directly along that subject? Look at Israel. Look at the
Mhm.
Jews. Is it 1.5%? Is it even 1.5% world population?
It's in that general area.
Roughly
I
one
don't
and a
have it
half
right here.
percent. They have something like
Today there's about 16 million Jews on planet
Mm.
Earth. Yeah.
Mhm. Go look at the number of Nobel Prizes
Oh, it's crazy.
won. Something like, I hesitate even to give you the quote. I knew the quote at some point, but someone go look it up.
Hmm?
Majority, 1.5% world population, greater than half to, I think, greater than 3/4 of Nobel Prizes. And they don't hand those out like just because. Like,
Mhm.
these are people that truly earned and made massive contributions, that truly embodied, and through you, all nations will be blessed.
Yeah.
When he said that. And like, that could be your next thought. And the next logical thought from there is that if I am doing what I've been created to do, if I'm pulled in there and following his will, and I'm not following because I'm chasing the money, maybe I literally go from the point of blessing my family, blessing my fellow coworkers, to I quite literally bless the world by my work.
Yeah.
Like, now, if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I'm not, well, I'm just a company. I'm like, how about that interstate that gets me to work every week, every day? Foundational process of it. Think someone, there are basic, ponder that if you work, your AC, air conditioning service, people think about it for comfort.
Mhm.
Ponder the fact that it literally saves lives.
Yeah.
Watch these people out there dying with these power outages and these heat waves. Watch
Mhm.
people literally dying
Mhm.
from heat stroke. And
W-
ponder that you matter. Your career matters.
Well, when you cut out, I think you were kind of going in a just for a second. A person said, "Well, I'm a nobody." Do you
Mhm.
know what that? Do you know what that statement is? That is insulting your creator.
Right.
That's
Yes.
insulting him. You
Yes.
know what you're saying is you created junk.
Mm-hmm.
How ridiculous is that?
Who
I
are you to
mean,
tell God he made junk?
yeah, yeah. I mean, talk about a slap in his face. So there are in this world there is yet to be seen inventions. I saw a
Mm-hmm.
meme the other day that I thought about you. I should have sent it to you. Guy's laying in a hospital, and he's like, well, he's one of these anti-Semitic protesters, I think it was, and the doctor's like, well, we can't give you the heart transplant because that was, there's Jewish technology here, and we can't hook you up on this machine because it's Jewish technology and all these things. And the guy said, could I make a phone call? And he said, no, that's Jewish technology. you know
Right.
and see, if
Yes.
here's where I think the breakdown is. You mentioned the verse of I will bless those that bless you. If you and I have been grafted in, adopted into that covenant of Abraham, then those blessings are also ours.
Mm-hmm.
And so we also should be. But at some point in time, somebody has to set their sights higher.
Right. To
You
set your
know,
sights higher than the dollar, do you ever
yeah.
stop and ponder just how low your ambition actually is if you're pursuing dollar bills?
Oh yeah. My first job was in an office supply store. I was making $1.50 an hour. I went from there to a grocery store making $2.25 an hour. I thought I had owned half of the world. Okay, it's all relative though. But you need to, at some point you have to look at yourself and say, I need to set my sights higher. Oop, there he goes. And there he is again.
And we have returned.
Yeah. So at some point you have to set your sights higher, and maybe this means that tomorrow, maybe it's your first job. Maybe
Mhm.
you're, flipping burgers or whatever it is that you're doing. maybe, whatever, you're a cashier, or you're standing there in the bullpen of Walmart and, ignoring people. Um, do it with the best of your ability. We have a store,
Absolutely.
about in here in Franklin, Ingles grocery store.
Yep.
What's the difference between the checkout at Walmart and the checkout at Ingles?
I mean, it's definitely, I feel like it's a better process.
Well, one of the things that's the reason is because the people at Ingles are a lot of times retired people that are just trying to
Mhm.
get a little extra money or whatever. They just want something to do. And so
Mhm.
they're always greeting you.
This is
They're
true.
always, hey,
Yes.
could I help you with something? Could I take your bags out? Whatever. Whereas at Walmart, for the most part, okay, I'm talking in generalities. At Walmart, um, the joke used to be that the reason that there would never be a Walmart in Israel is because when you walked in, somebody'd say, "Why are you here?"
Right.
Except for that's happening now here.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
be the most cordial. Go out of your way. Do extra. Don't figure, well, I'm just going to go there and they're paying me $12 an hour and all I'm going to give them is $12 an hour. No, you go in and give them $20 an hour. If
Mhm.
you think you're worth
Absolutely.
more, then work at a $20 level and see if that $20 doesn't come to you instead of the 12.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And don't hesitate while we're on this process, don't hesitate and don't be ashamed, if you will, if you've got this. And we're back.
Somebody should be trying to figure out how to straighten out the internet. So,
Right. Someone
yeah,
out there fix that for us, if you
yeah,
would.
yeah. You said,
Was this
fix this something. I don't know.
right? So we were where I was going was, this idea of, don't be recognize that dead end jobs do in fact exist.
Mhm.
But don't be ashamed if your dead end job is what you've got that's on the way to something.
Yeah.
I have a fellow whom I work with who works as a patient care tech. Now, talk about a thankless job, but I'm delighted to have them. Yours is, if you're a patient care tech, your job is to mostly help clean up the bodily excrement. All right, I'll leave it at that. But you do a whole lot of that. You literally have crappy days. Yeah. Uh, but I know someone. I know a few people they're doing this job and they're in nursing school. A lot of people do that. They'll
Yeah.
work that experience in the hospital while they're on the way to nursing school. I know another person who has this job, and this is this fellow's life career. Trouble is, there is no advancing in this, period, ever.
No.
He's stuck at probably about $12, maybe $15 an hour. And it's not about the money, but it should be about your future.
Yeah.
And so I worry about the fellow who doesn't ponder the idea that he is at the top and it's pretty low down there. And
Because
so,
go
yeah.
ahead.
No, go ahead. And so that's the idea. Like, don't be ashamed. Oh, you're in a job where it pays little, like you're stepping into construction work and you're the helper, you're the mudslinger, and you're just carrying the block and you're getting paid not much. You've got a career there. You've got a future there
Mhm.
as you learn, as you progress your skills, as you become worth more. Be self-aware, at least, if you've got yourself stuck in what is a dead-end job,
Mhm.
and ponder, this would be a really good job to be something that you do on the way to something else.
I've heard story after story through my life, Alex, of people in so-called dead-end jobs that did it to the best of their ability, threw everything into it. And somewhere along the way, a business owner, see, business owners are fun people because they're always looking for someone that can actually do a job.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you will do the job beyond and above what is expected of you, it may be that somebody else is watching you and
Mhm.
sees you and says, "Hey, I'd like to offer you a job." And that may be, that may be where you start out going to somewhere else. But it all comes down to this, and we'll finish here for this week. It all comes down to this: a verse that any person who's ever heard me teach at all, the verse I go to in my life over and over again, Proverbs 18:16. A man's gift will make room for him, and he will stand
Mhm.
before great ones. If you
Mhm.
will find your gift, you will stand before great people. Now,
Mhm.
if you get the address of that wrong in Proverbs 16:18, it's pride comes before a fall. Okay. If you
Okay.
find the reason that the Father created you, you will never, we get this thing about, well, what's going to make you happy? Do you know that he's not really concerned about your happiness?
Right?
He's
Happiness is kind of optional in life.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. It is, happiness comes and goes.
Mhm.
Being fulfilled in life, having purpose, knowing
Having
that you have poured your life into somebody else. That's what makes the difference in life. Closing words?
Absolutely. Finding your purpose will see you through those hard spots where there is no happiness. Having a spot where you are having a terrible day at work, and your reflex answer is, I'm not paid enough for this. No matter what your career or what you make, that is the reflex response. Will not be true if you're not pursuing it for the money,
Yeah.
but rather it's something that, true, pays your bills, but also that can be something that you realize you have a purpose and a role in, and a greater involvement in your community and in your world with.
Yeah. There we go with the internet connection again. So I'll finish with this one. A verse in the book of Matthew: "Seek first the kingdom of God, His righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you." Because as you seek Him, you might find that He has plans for you, plans for good and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. Till next week, Alex. Thank you.
Take care. See you next
Who
week.
am I that you would know my name? What kind of love would walk